This is the show for. I think we got one more show in us before the end of the year, Bradley. Wait, that's the first time I think I actually called you Bradley. Is
Well,
that your
I
actual?
thought I wasn't sure if I was on with Ferd or if I was on with my mother.
Okay, so
That's what
Bradley
I'm
is
usually.
your actual
That's
name
what I'm
then.
usually called when I'm getting in trouble. When I was a kid. So
Yeah. Back in
uh,
my
it's
fraternity days, we'd all
very
call each other by our
professional
first.
though. It's
Very,
very
very.
professional.
We'd all call each other by our full names,
I'm
and
going to start calling you Fernando.
yeah, yeah. So it's funny.
Fernando and Bradley here live on
Yeah, yeah.
Wednesday.
So it's funny because back in the day, or like when I'm walking down the street, or like I'm uh wherever, and someone says Ferdy, which is like my kid name, or like my nickname, or my high school name. I kind of like, it's probably someone from high school. But if someone says Fernando, it's like past 21 and up, like that kind of era. And now I'm back to Ferdy, like via like Instagram and all that, for whatever reason. So when people call me Ferdy, like not Ferdbert, but like Ferdy, it kind of throws me off a little bit. But I do go by Fernando because it's a lot easier to say, So anyway,
Is that what's on your business card? That's the question.
yes, that is what's on my business card. And speaking of business cards, I did get new ones with my actual picture on it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was kind of lacking. From my boss was like, you should probably put your picture on there so people like recognize your face. I was like, oh, I didn't think of that. So I went and found a picture I took about a year ago, and yeah. So anyway,
I'm sure you had a fresh haircut in that picture. So
oh man, it was like there's no tie. I'm very like casual. It was actually my homecoming from college. So yeah, it's a no double chin. My previous picture I had double chin in it, so I was like, I'm not gonna use that one.
dude, you're not big enough to have a double chin.
It's all about the positioning of like the face, right?
Well, in the position of the camera also. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why all the girls take the picture up here.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Don't you never look down like this, because
exactly. Yeah. Then
yeah,
you've got three chins. So
yeah, exactly. So I know, it's been kind of slow for us business wise the past month or so, but it's, a seasonal thing. I'm not too worried about it. I mean, it's just more like, what do I prepare for 2024? We're always like a month ahead and whatnot, but kind of to start out before we get into the slides today, some really great news that we were sort of touching on backstage, but Mr. Jerome Powell came out and said some pretty powerful stuff before the end of the year on his last meeting with the Fed. And man, I mean, we've been talking about the possibility of it, and it feels like, this was like prior to us kind of doing this stuff, but it's a slow grind with this interest rate stuff. Here, let me scroll down a little bit more so you guys can see the headline. But yeah, the Fed holds steady, did not raise prime rate. And there's possible 3 cuts in 2024. That was the shocker for me. How did you take this info?
yeah, I mean that's so our plan going into this podcast was to discuss the it was a I don't know, what would you call it? Basically, a third party had indicated that the signs that they were seeing was that there were going to be some cuts next year. And not to give too much away, because we will really get in depth a little later, but the Feds were going to possibly cut rates based on the information that they've received, the indicators that are coming back from with the economy and the different indicators that go along with that. And so this third party had kind of indicated that, hey, based on what we see, we think this is going to happen. And now to how it's almost like we perfectly timed the podcast to coincide with the news. But if you're not checking out our Facebook page, YouTube page, Ferd does a great job of posting shorts on that page. And so, after we get done, go check it out and take a look at those. This little quick hit information. He really went into detail on the announcement and stuff like that. But it's one of the things that we'll talk about in the real estate segment is the fact that we've been just we've been super positive this whole time. We've been doing this for, I don't know what, 6 months or however long we've been doing this. We've been super positive and shared in, our own data that suggests that things aren't quite as bleak as they may seem. And now to finally have some news that we can really sink our teeth into has been great. What was your initial thought when you saw this?
I wasn't shocked at the announcement that he was going to hold rates steady. We kind of budgeted for that, like kind of in our synopsis going forward. But the 3 cuts was really a big indicator of like, wow, he's pretty confident that the market is kind of maybe shot a little further ahead than they anticipated. If you originated a HELOC or any short-term debt that's variable about a month ago, you are probably at the top of the rate cycle. So what that means is you probably got really good pricing on the loan that you took out. Your plan was to, be qualified at like a higher, mortgage or HELOC rate, whatever. But you're probably good. You're probably budget-wise, you're probably good. And Michael Baker, he's got a little comment here. Let's
shout out to Michael boy, Baker, man.
Yeah,
we appreciate you, man.
And I really hope Michael takes a lot out of what we talk about all the time that he watches us.
He's here. He's got to at the very. I mean, I know he wants to have a beer with us at some point, but at the very least, I hope he's got some information that he can use. So
one day, and don't hate to be that guy. It's a perfectly good question, but he says the cynic in me says they're going to cut rates in an election year where the incumbent is more unpopular than any president in the last 40 years. Coincidence? So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just kind of see, that's a good point. I didn't think of it like that at all. The economy still has to do well for this to have an effect on a presidential cycle. I think people are more. I think what you touched on with the Ukraine situation, again, it's that's different politics. That we probably could have used that money like domestically, but how does that affect global economic stuff, right? When it comes to money, I'm not going to get into the politics of it because we're not political commentators, if you will. But it's a good point. But I would say that it's not like lowering the prime rate 3 times before a presidential election is going to really grow GDP by 2%. It's probably going to keep what the Fed's saying is either one, he foresees a natural contraction in the economy, so next year the GDP could actually go lower, or that they kind of overstepped the rate cycle and now inflation's kind of okay, and we may need to like, we don't want to kill the economy entirely. I've been seeing cuts across the board in different companies, but not a large, like, I mean, unemployment's still 3.4%. So it's not a given that he's going to cut rates 3 times next year also. So again, you could also, and I mean, and Jerome Powell was elected during the Trump administration. So you could also put that in context as well. He shouldn't care what president's coming in next year, whether he's elected or not. I mean, really, the Fed's job is to control the money supply. He's more worried about his own, job versus like the president's job. I don't think whether we have a Democratic or Republican in the White House next term, it's not really going to matter. And that's just my opinion. What do you think, Brad?
It would have really, so in order for that to happen, because I did think about that, as tight politically as thing, and it's hard to have these conversations without having political discussions, but as tight as things have been politically over the last, 8 to 10 years, they would have had to have been planned how aggressive they were the last 6 months to get to the point where, like you said, to get to the point where conditions allowed for them to lower rates. So, then the conspiracy theory is that they were uber aggressive this year so that they could lower rates next year. And I don't know that anybody is that genius to really figure that out. It would really take if they are, that's impressive. To be so aggressive to the point where, hey, we need to be super aggressive so that we can lower rates so that it benefits us in an election year. I just don't know that they could have planned that. It occurred to me, Michael. I get that. It did occur to me, but I just don't know that. I don't know that they're quite that smart, to coordinate what like Ferd said. The bottom line is that the conditions have to be in place for that to happen. You can't lower rates without having things look positive. Have a positive outlook on the economy and the conditions be in place to do that. So just had they lowered rates just for the sake of lowering rates, then maybe I would be on board with that. But I appreciate, dude, I totally appreciate the question. That's excellent, dude. That's why you're our number one chat guy, Michael Baker.
Yeah, and I appreciate it because I didn't even think of it. I was just excited about the announcement. How it affected rates, though, Michael. Let's take a look real quick, because your question, your comment actually leads to what I was going to point out next. So great, he makes the announcement. What does that do to the overall market, right? Well, let's see. So you can see right here. Well, here. The market loved it. Dow was at a 52-week high. S&P is near that 52-week high in 2021. NASDAQ is on its way up. I mean, that's 1% isn't a whole lot, but 512 points in the Dow Industrials, that's pretty big. The bond market, though. So I was suggesting, I'm not trying to say like you should have done this, but I think so. I had suggested if you want to, combat inflation or get a guaranteed rate of return, look at bonds. This is like 2 or 3 months ago, I want to say, maybe just 2 months ago. But had you done that, you'd be up 100 basis points on the 10-year. So what I mean by that is you could have got 10-year bond rates at paying 5% or maybe even more for probably less than $100. Now that same bond rate's paying 4%. So a full 100 basis points you would have saved yourself if you would have taken our suggestion, I would say advice, but suggestion to, curb your investment appetite. Fixed income's doing really well. As you can see here, what happens is, as rates go down, the value of those bonds go up. So if you were to sell your bonds that you bought at 5% 10-year, you would be up quite a bit after 1 month kind of investment, or just hold it to the 10 years because that's what your initial kind of deal was. The 2-year I was noticing was down around 400 basis points. It was at 5.25 or 5.10 a while back. Crypto, which has been moving really big because of the new ETF coming out. This is up to 42,000. I don't watch crypto markets that much, but it's just more of like, okay, I'm more curious of like if the Fed makes an announcement, is that good for crypto? Is it bad? It looks like this is a good thing for risk on kind of appetite. Gold, which oddly is up $53. I thought that was crazy. And oil, look at this. I mean, there are people talking about oil being at like $100 a barrel. So you talk about savings right there, minus the Fed moving. Less gasoline prices are. I mean, I paid $4 a gallon, which was down from $1. I at stupid Audi, I had to get premium gasoline. I don't drive that much, so it's not that big a deal. But I mean that's great, just in time for Christmas, So,
dude, I filled up today, $2.55.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Now
really
there
cool.
was evidently there's like, the people that scour the city trying to find the cheapest place for gas. And I think we all kind of like descended on this place at the same time, but it was there was a little wait, but it was it just feels good.
Yeah.
It just feels good to so that's the thing we're looking at is in the past, this is the first time they've ever come out and said something positive for the future. When the markets responded negatively in the past to the Fed not lowering rates because they couldn't promise that they wouldn't in the future. So the response is probably based on the fact that, hey, we're not raising rates now.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? All right. They respond. We haven't in the past. They've said that they weren't going to lower rates, but they couldn't promise that they wouldn't in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
the market responded negatively to that because there's a potential future bad news,
Mm-hmm.
and now so we've got this. Not only are we not raising rates now, but we could do some reductions next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see all this green,
Mm-hmm.
this I like seeing that green.
Yeah, especially Christmas time. And here's the other thing that we've been championing people that either were kind of on the fence about getting a mortgage or going looking. Guess what? This news is just going to drive more applications. I mean, I'm all about being busy, but I had a couple of people just say where they were done, looking. I really just had to like put my foot down and be like, just be active. I guarantee you there's it's going to go down. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but if you're out of the game, you don't pay attention for the next 3 months, you could miss out on something. And I didn't know it was going to be this drastic of a change, but I'll also say this, we got a reduction in mortgage rates by about a quarter. So yesterday, if you locked in a rate, you're probably that same rate is the cost of that rate is now a core. You could have got, so basically if you locked in at 7% yesterday, you're probably at 6.75 today. 0.25% doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to 30 years, so it's just gonna motivate more people to maybe tap back into the market. And supply is still an issue, man. We've been preaching that on our grave, supply. I bet you on our graves it's gonna say supply is still an issue, and hopefully it's not for a long time. But that's how it feels. And the other thing too, before we get into the slides here, and then we can get moving. Supply's been an issue since like 2017, 2018 here. I don't know how it is on your side of the ocean, but I feel like people are living longer. It's more expensive to downsize. And the population of the United States of America is just growing, whether that be immigration, family or sizes, people working from home, they're able to move out and afford, places in other areas. I don't know. It's just going to be an ongoing problem. So
yeah, well, I think I shared this with you at some point or on the podcast at some point, but I saw a stat from a real estate podcaster that I like to watch a lot, and he said he was doing some research, and there are more 30-year-olds now than at any point in time in history.
You mentioned that, yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I remember that, mm-hmm.
and dude, that's a prime candidate for me. Yeah, and that's a prime candidate for you. So the challenge for us is between now and the first of the year is like get on the phone, man, and just pound the pavement and get this news out there. I just want to make sure as many people as we can get in front of know what we're sharing here. This has been good stuff. And y'all, I don't know if y'all noticed it or not, but when Ferd's he's got receipts. He told you can go back and check, but he's what he said is accurate. He's got receipts on his recommendations, so that's pretty awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's just it's been very cool. I mean, I've been we don't have a ton of followers yet, but I would say that the people that do watch the show, they stay for like a very long time. So I think that's good information. I'd rather talk to 5 people that really are interested in our stuff than 100 that are just kind of not really paying attention. And Mike says humble brag. But if you guys know anyone else that does want to watch the show and it'd be useful to someone that's maybe like, I don't know, 27, 28, it's very smart in one field, but has no idea what finance is all about. And they have a long-term kind of like benefit or long-term goal. And they want to perhaps buy a house in South Carolina or get a mortgage on the West Coast here. I do lend to several states on the West Coast. Let them know, hit that like button, send the podcast and have them ask questions. And without further ado, let's get into the show.
Yeah, y'all do me a favor. Send Ferd somebody who wants to live in Hawaii. Hook my boy up and let's get him some business out there. You can do that, right? Did you say Hawaii's one of? Yeah. All right. Let's get my man some business out in Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii's it's a tough market because there's some areas that actually lenders don't you can't lend in certain areas because of the volcano, which I think is just always funny. Yeah. It's like level 2 or 3. We don't lend in level 1, I think. I think it's like DEFCON 1, 2, and 3, right? The lower, I don't know. We only do like lava section 2 or lava 2 zone. But a lot of people come to the company I work for because we do lend in lava 2. I was always thought like, man, I wouldn't want lava anything.
No, yeah, I want lava 0. That's what I want.
I want the no lava zone. You know what I mean? So, but anyway.
Oh man, yeah, we don't deal with that. Although we do have earthquakes here periodically.
Yeah. Do a lot of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we're on a fault line. The coast of Charleston is actually a fault line. And so and we get tremors here in Northeast Columbia. I've been sitting on my balcony just hanging out, and all of a sudden I'm like, I felt something. It's like did I just feel what I think I felt? And I texted my mom and was like, I think I just felt an earthquake. And she said, yeah, she was with her sister, my aunt, and she said, yeah, she just got a text from my cousin saying he just felt the same thing. So it's pretty wild.
That's crazy, man.
Hurricanes and earthquakes, but no lava. So
no lava. I mean, you're good. It happens a lot, which is kind of scary. So
yeah, it is.
Anyway, okay. Back to the show. So I couldn't really think of stocks to really cover, but so I did some technically tech stocks here. So I hope you like the 3 I chose. Our West Coast to East Coast real estate deal of the day, tip of the day, and then Brad's the more you know. Will mortgage rates stay the same? And evidently not. I mean, they kind of beat us to the punch, but we're still going to talk about it.
We'll dig a little deeper into the content.
Yeah, kind of really funny, man. So the 3 I chose today to talk about is AMD, GameStop, and SeaGate. I talked a lot about NVIDIA, which is basically the Apple of semiconductor stocks. With AI kind of being the forefront, back, I remember like 10 years ago, it was the cloud was a big deal. And I kind of feel like this evolution of technology of AI, it's like the cloud times like 10 because it's hitting so many different variables. It's happening very quickly. And if you want to get ahead of it, AMD is kind of your 1A to NVIDIA. It's a little bit more affordable, quote unquote, of a stock, but NVIDIA is just light years ahead of everyone else. But AMD is a pretty healthy company as well, and they're pretty smart. And it's a cheaper alternative to an NVIDIA card. So AMD is just a stock to maybe take a look at. Brad, I don't know if AMD is in my laptop. Have you ever had an AMD, or do you even prefer, or do you care about your semiconductor running your computer or PC?
You're an Apple guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm an Apple guy too. I've got an Apple desktop. I've got an
Okay.
Apple. I'm on my Apple MacBook Air right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an iPhone. I've got an iPad. I'm like, my background is graphic design, which is kind of why I am,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of lean that way.
Sure.
But I'm not sure what they
Me
use.
either. I think they use. I want to say they make their own card now. It used to be
Okay.
Intel, but yeah, I think they maybe used AMD in the past, but yeah, it would make sense because AMD kind of like is always like right behind Nvidia. Like they'll put out like, let's just use an example. I don't know this actual pricing, but Nvidia has the number one chip, right? And then 2 months later, AMD comes out with a same performing chip for like $150 less. So it's just kind of funny how that works. And there's not, I don't know the patent law about it, but for whatever reason, AMD is always like right behind Nvidia. The next stock I chose, and I was kind of 50-50 about choosing this stock, but GameStop, I'm not, it may not be a tech company for very long, or like a retail company for a very long time. This company could be Berkshire number 2. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do not.
Okay, so originally Warren Buffett bought Berkshire Hathaway. It was a mill plant. So basically they made like clothing. And he bought the company because the cash flows from this mill were so prevalent that he could use that money and invest it in the open market or whatever, right? Well, as the export, or the production of t-shirts, clothing went overseas, this mill, Berkshire Hathaway, basically its operations were like done. However, Warren Buffett said, well, I like the name. I'm just going to turn Berkshire Hathaway into an investment firm, essentially, or a
Yeah, I
holding
was going to
company.
say it's just like an umbrella company. They do so much stuff under the umbrella of Berkshire Hathaway now.
Right. Exactly.
They have a real estate company.
Exactly. Yeah. Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Very. They're all over the place here in Washington. But the board for GameStop is suggesting that Ryan Cohen, who's the CEO, he started what's that pet company? Chewy. He started Chewy, and then he bought a pretty big stake in GameStop, and then now he's like the CEO, whatever. Well, they really like what he has to. They have really huge confidence in his stockholding picks, and so there's talks that GameStop is going to be like Berkshire Hathaway and just be basically a stock picker, because the retail side isn't doing very well, right? I just thought that was a very fascinating point. Now, if that's true, you could buy GameStop for like $20, and if it's Berkshire Hathaway number 2, man, imagine buying Berkshire Hathaway at $20 a share in 1972.
Yeah, they're under $17, and they're up a dollar and a half. So there's a lot of green today.
Yeah, all over the place, man. I mean, like a lot of these meme stocks probably are, AMC is probably green today. Why not, right?
Yeah.
But I just thought that was something to kind of watch out for. I wouldn't say buy it now, because if you're buying it now, you're still basing it off of like good holiday sales, consolidation of the company retail. I don't really know what GameStop's going to become in the next like 5 years. But Ryan Cohen, I'd have 100%, I'd have 100% confidence that he'd be a great picker for stocks, or for just different companies for GameStop if they do go that route. SeaGate, you may be aware of, you just don't know it. You didn't mention you have a MacBook Air. Well, SeaGate produces the reason a MacBook Air is around is because SeaGate, in a way. They are a storage, so memory company, and they base, a lot of their profits come from external hard drives, but they also have a product that it fits in a MacBook Air for internal hard drives as well. It's very thin, so their technology is very sophisticated in that realm. I was just thinking of this because I've gotten into the online gaming thing and like playing games and like,
Boy, have you ever?
It's ridiculous, right? I'm about to throw Modern Warfare
Yeah.
out the
Look, listen, we're trying to get you to come watch Sunset to South, but you can always go to Furber the Nerd and watch my boy over here streaming live playing. What's your game of choice now?
Well, it was Modern Warfare, but I'm about to throw that game out the window because it's the same thing over and over again.
I watched you. I thought you did pretty good, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I thought you like to use that glider thing, that like jumping from buildings and gliding down.
Oh yeah.
And stuff.
Oh yeah. No worries, Michael. Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
If the wife's there, you got to call for this terrible Modern Warfare. Thanks, Wade. I appreciate you. Yeah, I think I don't know. It's just not my thing. And I think Wade kind of knows. I think the reason Wade doesn't like it is the same reason I don't like it. But with that said, you can get external hard drives for like the games that you buy, right? And then Xbox is really good about that. Well, SeaGate has really good technology in regards to it uploads really quickly. So like if you have a game saved on your SeaGate drive or a file, it's not going to take a long time, where a lot of external hard drives may do that. SeaGate's always like the best one. That's why it costs a little bit more. Their technology is just transfers the data really quickly. Another tech stock that I've always followed, and just with the onset of security, I believe, and files getting bigger, and wanting to consolidate space, this SeaGate is just a really good company to own, in my opinion.
That name, I mean, being so I went to college for graphic design, so that name I do recognize, and they've been doing the external hard drive thing for a long time and doing it well, and they weren't the cheapest. They were never the cheapest. But that just tells you that they're doing a product that, they're putting a product out that's quality. You might pay a little bit more, but it's a good quality hard drive.
Yeah, I don't know if like they have like a market with like phones. I don't know if they go that small, but and I've thought I was thinking about this the other day. There's so much stuff in the cloud, and
right,
I've never thought of just buying like 2 terabyte hard drive and just putting like photos or something that like I want to just have access to. And our wedding photos actually were sent via Google Link, and we got married in the Philippines, and I'm frustrated because that link has now expired, and the company that I'm dealing with, they want a fee to re-upload the link. And so I'm gonna have to go and look at the contract and all that. But had I had it like in a hard drive, like old school 10 years ago, we wouldn't have this problem. But I don't know. It's just something that kind of made me think, yeah, I should like back up everything on a hard drive and put it in a safe, whether that be photos, videos, streams, what have you. That way I have access to it, because it's just what I'm dealing with right now is just ridiculous. But anyway, something I kind of think about, with files that you have. So
who would have thought that? I mean, it seems like something somebody might need to know. Like, hey, by the way, this link will expire if you don't download these photos onto another device.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just gonna look at the contract and go from there. If it's not mentioned, I'll just say. I mean, I know some people over there that deal with legal stuff, so
get the Don on it.
I might have to. So
get the Don on it.
Yeah. So anyway, not too happy about that. Neither is wifey, and she's fiery. So anyway.
The Latina.
It's a Latina, man. Yeah. She's watching right now. Probably. I don't know. She's probably on her way home. Pat's waving too. So anyway, yeah, it's just some stuff. Nothing too huge as far as the earning stuff, but risk on for sure for stocks.
I wouldn't on that segment. I would not be mad at all if you go back and revisit some of your previous picks just to kind of see what they're doing now. So,
Okay.
as you kind of, it can be difficult for us to find content for this stuff. We really, it really fell in our laps this week with all the news, but it can be tough to deliver content that, how much can you talk about mortgage rates in a week's time? And it's one of the reasons why we went to every 2 weeks, just to kind of give ourselves some time to because we want to provide a quality product for you guys. And that was one of our concerns. So I wouldn't be mad at all if you went back and revisited some of those previous picks just to, hey, let's see what these are doing. I mentioned this in week 2 or week 3 or whatever.
Yeah, why not?
And let's just see what they're doing now. And
Okay.
and were we on to something? Were we not on to something? And and just let's just see what see how things are turning out. So as we kind of move forward and try to create content, it wouldn't be bad to go back and kind of reevaluate some of those things. That's
I'll just say, like, I'm shocked. Like, I'm honestly, like, I wasn't bearish on the market. I was just, with rates so high and just with everything asset wise, just like not really performing. I'm generally shocked that we're still at near highs in the S&P 500, even with that announcement. Like, because it's not like rates are going to go from 7.5% to 7, hopefully 6. I don't know in the next year, but like even at 6%, like mortgage rates seems still really high for stocks. But the thing is like there's so many consumer sentiment is quote unquote at all time or at a low, but people are still spending money, and whether they have to or don't want to, they're still spending and they have the ability to do so. I think when I think of the most important economic indicator at this point right now, it is still employment. It's 100% employment, whether you're working, unfortunately, if you're working multiple jobs, I mean, like that's just not a fun thing, but the ability to have multiple jobs, I think, is important as well, and something to kind of think about. That jobs number this past week that came out unemployment's still below 3.4%. That's historically low at 7% interest rates. That's just insane. But it's if that employment number starts to tick down, that's going to be something worrisome. Just hasn't happened yet. So West Coast real estate. So I was inspired because this is my alma mater's last year in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is done, but Washington State University was one of the universities that was left in the dust along with Oregon State, our brothers from the West.
The Cougars.
The Cougars got couged, man. If you're from Seattle, you know exactly what that, what that phrase means. Or if you're from Washington, we still are on game day every day with that flag. I don't know if you noticed that, Brad.
Oh yeah,
that's us. But yeah, we're no longer. The Pac-12 is done.
One person? Is it a network of people? What's going on?
So it's a dude from New Mexico. It's really weird. There's a lot of alumni live like in the Southwest, Arizona, but like New Mexico. There's like a weird, like very strong contingent of Cougars in Mexico, like a group of 30, I guess. And one guy, he was like, oh, there's a Coug game in Arizona or like, I don't know, Texas, wherever it was. And he was like, shoot, I'm just going to go on game day because I'm here already. I'm just going to wave our flag in the background. And he's been doing that since like 2004 or 3. I can't remember the exact date, but the flag.
There's not a game day that it hasn't been there, right?
There was a game day in 2020, I want to say. 2019. We finally game day finally came, or 2018.
The fiery Latina showed up.
Yes, my fiery wife. She's cracking up. They showed up finally in 2019, 18. I can't remember. But It was crazy. I mean,
Washington State Cougars, Michael.
oh,
We're talking
okay.
about game day.
Game day. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was insane. I wasn't able to go. I was working a really crappy job at the time. But according to the guys at game day, it was it was a party of parties. And then we ended up beating Oregon, which is always great. Gardner Minshew was our quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's a Southern dude. He's from the South somewhere. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. So when I was thinking
I would have never thought it with the cutout with the jorts and
I know, I know,
and the handlebar mustache.
dude. He's a character, man. I mean, he was only there for a year because he was a grad student when he went to Wazoo. But that guy, I guess his plan was to go to Alabama and like be third string quarterback and like just learn how to coach. But Mike Leach, rest in peace, he was like, no, come to Wazoo. I'll put you in my air raid offense. And this is before NIL was legal or anything like that. So he came all the way to Wazoo, and 10-win season, the first 10-win season, like so many years, yada yada. He's on like house money. He got drafted in the 6th round. Came in. He's not like a great quarterback, but he's just full of energy and positivity. I think anywhere he goes, people love the guy. He'll never have to pay for a drink in Pullman ever again, and he still goes there, which is, I think, pretty cool. But the real estate in Pullman is kind of intriguing. I would say that college town, right? You're always going to have people like possibly renting your house, but with the onset of Airbnb, I've seen a lot of Airbnbs being bought over there, or just people buying a primary home for quite a bit more, but Airbnb and going and leaving the college town for the weekend and having basically be paid. That's what we did when we went to go visit good old Pullman. But this house is fairly new, $435,000. It's on 5,000 square feet.
Dude, I thought that was a typo.
I don't know if it's like the community that they just put this in, but there's like a little park in there as well.
That is massive for 2 bedrooms and 2 baths.
Yeah, it's just clear land though. You can't really build on it. It's just like, oh, I have all this land because it's the rolling hills of Pullman. Our Civil War is the Apple Cup. That's what it's called. And it's against University of Washington. Which
he's saying is Gardner Minshew from the Civil War South?
Oh,
is he from Texas South or something?
He's probably
from my neck of the woods. That's
probably yeah. He's probably from your neck of the woods for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's from if he's from Columbia, South Carolina.
I mean, his name is Gardner Minshew. Like, what a great name. Pause real quick. What are you drinking right there, my friend?
That's a little bourbon.
Okay.
Doing a little Old Scout. This is from a buddy of mine. Shout out to Scotty. One of my best friends, and his wife's family lives in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this particular distillery is located, and so this is a barrel pick. So you notice the usually they'll have the name of the store in that spot, but it's actually the state of West Virginia. So it's a barrel pick for the state. It's aged 6 years and it is 60.4. So that's 120.8 proof. And it is pretty tasty. So
cool.
Just trying to stay warm, man. It's getting a little chilly here in the Civil War South down here. So I don't remember where Gardner Minshew is from, but I like that dude when he was with Jacksonville. I remember him when he was with Washington State. I liked him when he was with Jacksonville, and you got to love him. I mean, he was the backup plan in Indianapolis, and he's the starter now.
Yeah.
So he's got to be a good locker room guy. I mean,
has to be.
I just have to think that all his teammates have to love him.
I mean, it's crazy to think that in 2019 or 2018 was his senior year. It was 2018 the fall of 2018 when we had game day there. Because now I remember. To his mindset was to go into coaching. Like he was like very like tunnel vision coaching at Alabama. To go from I was gonna coach like from at 2019 and being that age, and then like going forward to where 4 or 5 years later, he's a backup to starter in the NFL. Like the amount of money just that he's making versus what he thought he would be doing as far as a career, it's pretty impressive, man. Yeah, and then I was out. I mean, we were really hoping too that he was going to get that Super Bowl ring. I remember I was cheering for the Eagles because I wanted them to win. And I just loved Jalen Hurts, their quarterback. I mean, another locker room guy, right? I mean, he basically had 2 locker room QBs on one team. Kind of a bummer that he didn't win. But if you're looking to buy a pretty big house and a huge amount of square footage in Pullman, that's what you're looking at. I saw some other ones that were like probably on campus, like 3-bedroom, 1 bath for like 185, and they were pretty gross. But you're gonna have, if you're buying as an investment, which I think it's more acceptable in a college town, right? Because people need somewhere to live. It's guaranteed income, man.
That's where sure. I'm at. Yeah, I mean, you put indestructible flooring in there, put some of that luxury vinyl plank down.
Yeah.
So that the kegs don't scrape up the floor and all that good stuff, and rent those bad boys out, and you will make a killing.
Yeah, exactly. Insurance may be a little high, but screw it, man.
Yeah.
No biscuit. Don't risk it. No biscuit, right?
That's right.
All right, Brad, what we got here?
So it's interesting. I just looked. I decided I was going to deviate slightly from. I always kind of tried to stay in the same price range, but I said, I'm going to look at multifamily. And as it turns out, this is on our campus.
Oh, cool.
So this is a duplex. Yeah, this is a duplex on our campus. So it looks awesome from the outside. Each unit is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,300 square feet each. And they've each got like a porch or patio. And it's close to the real USC. So we were first. So we claimed that.
That's cool, man. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, we were first. University of South Carolina. But I just thought this was a really cool opportunity. So right now, I did a little research, and right now both units are currently rented. So you're basically buying this with tenants in place through the end of the school year, which runs through the spring of 2024. So you're cash flowing right out the gate. I don't know that I don't like the ratios a little off for me, but this has been on the market for a little while, so maybe there's a little room there. But I just think, man, I'm looking for people who want to jump in on stuff like this, and just, you don't have to live in South Carolina to be, invest in real estate in South Carolina. And so I'm looking for people who are like, hey, I need to put my money somewhere, and somewhere that, these things are going to stay rented. I mean, they're just going to. It's in a great location. I'll have to go back and double check. I think it's like $60,000 a year. But it's also, so it's probably only rented a portion of the year. So maybe you could get a little additional income on, other time, hey, let's make each one of those an Airbnb in the off, in the, summer months, in that downtime, let's do an convert it to an Airbnb or something. So there might be a little more opportunity there, but it's somewhere between 60 and 70 grand a year, for the, hey man, we might, we might need to, well, let me crunch some numbers, man. But it's, I would just have so for 10% of the rent, you can have somebody manage this, and you don't get a phone call at midnight. Hey, the toilet's, stopped up or whatever. To me, it's worth doing that. It's worth doing that 10%. Yeah, I mean, you might not even need to tie 20% up. Is basically what you're saying, then, right, Bird? So
yeah. So, like, for example, like Wade, and I don't know if Wade's looking to, but if you were, right, 20% is always good, right? Like, you don't have mortgage insurance. You have more like skin in the game, so your loan's probably going to be a little bit more favorable, right? But when it comes to investment properties, I always try and steer people to put as less as they possibly can afford down, because let's just use 700,000. So 140 versus 70,000 for down payment. That's a huge difference. You may need that 70,000 to put in new floors for whatever reason, or maybe you don't like the setup and you want to, increase the rents by like $200 per unit. So you want to take, some money to increase or to put in new closets in each deal, or just to have cash, right? I mean, like, if you put all your savings into this and like you don't get tenants for like 2 months, that sucks, right? Not that would happen in this situation, but yeah, if the income covers the payment, you're good. And if you're able, so the thing with, and I don't know if, kind of going to tangent here, but with commercial units like this, or I won't say commercial units, but with duplexes or 3 units, whatever, you can use the rents that you'll get for the units to qualify for the amount. So let's say your payments are $5,000 per month. You only make like $2,000 a month or whatever to qualify. Well, let's say you get $3,000 per unit in rents or whatever. So that would be actually 8,000 in income, quote unquote, to qualify for the loan. So it's a little bit different. And if you're looking at payoff in 11 and a half years. So Brad, investors that do real estate, I think it's more, they want more cash flow versus payoff, right? Because they're going to hold it for a long time. The more consistent ones that are successful in this, it's a long-term kind of deal, right?
Especially on campus, like we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's you're probably not gonna want to get rid of it because it's just going to stay rented.
Yeah.
And with 3 bedrooms, I mean, geez, how many places, a duplex where each side has 3, and you notice you can't quite tell in the photo, but each side has its own driveway too. So there's a driveway on either side of that building. And I think one of the entrances is maybe in the back or on the side here. But with three bedrooms, man, I mean, I see those people. So the price you pay to have a dorm where you're buying a bed and you're paying $1,500 a month or whatever it is, you're getting a 1,300 square foot duplex with 3 bedrooms. So they're splitting the rent anyway. So you could just about, not really not name your price, but you could be aggressive with your price for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I said, I would want to try to, in that downtime, because, all right, so here's the other thing. We're getting off on a little bit of a tangent, but this is really good information that we're,
and the chat sounds like they want to know. So yeah.
Right. So, so within 5 miles of campus is also Fort Jackson military base.
Mm-hmm.
So every weekend there is a graduation there, pretty much every weekend. So what do families in Texas and Arizona and Michigan and Wisconsin and Arkansas, when their son or daughter is graduating, then they're going to want to be here for the graduation. So in these off months, maybe that's an Airbnb where those folks come and, you're renting out to families every weekend in the downtime for Fort Jackson graduations or something. So there's some opportunity here. I mean, I know I'm I tend to be a bit of a rah-rah guy for South Carolina, but it's because of the conditions, it's because of that college town and military town that we can and the prices, for what we have. There's several small colleges in town as well. There's half a dozen smaller colleges and universities in the Columbia area as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, south of Seattle is this area called Tacoma, and Fort Lewis is our west coast. Like they always talk about how if there was a war, Seattle's in big trouble because we have Microsoft, we have nuclear subs in Puget Sound, and we have Fort Lewis, and there's a Navy base here as well across the water. But kind of to compare USC and Tacoma does smell bad, and you never want to drive through it because there's traffic. I swear they've been redoing I-5 in that area of Tacoma for like the past 25 years. But if you're forced to move there, or your family is, or you're forced to go to college in UPS, which is University of Puget Sound, that's kind of the same theme with, not being rah-rah about South Carolina, but the same kind of concept, right? You have military area, you have a college that's not as big as USC. It's quite a bit smaller, but you have that combination of, possibilities with potential rentals. I actually have a friend, her husband they live over here. They have rentals in Virginia, near a military base in Virginia. So
Are they former military?
One of them he's former military.
Dude, I love that idea. I mean, I went to real estate school 10 plus years ago with a guy who was retired military, and there was a solid 3 states that he had rentals in. He would move, he would get relocated, buy a house. When he got relocated again, he would make that a rental. And, Texas, Florida, he just had like several states where he didn't sell the house when he moved. He rented the house when he moved.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's so admirable to have the mindset to be able to do that. Plus, you're taking advantage of your one of the big benefits of being in the military, and with the favorable loans and stuff like that they offer. So I think that's, I think there's a lot. There's a lot I admire that a lot. I really admire that a lot.
Yeah, and I think they have 3 duplexes in Virginia. They've only run into an issue once, and that was because obviously they don't live here. They don't live there. They live in Washington. The door got like broken, and like the house got broken into and all that. But they got a better real estate company to kind of help them with all that. So I think it's a stressful way to like invest in your retirement. But if you have the ability to borrow and just kind of lay out, okay, this is what the rents are going to look like. And you partner with a good real estate agent like Brad, and Brad's going to tell you, okay, this duplex in South Carolina near the university and near a military base, most likely you're going to get $60,000 in rents, per year. You could talk to someone like me or another mortgage person and say, okay, well, how much is the payments going to look with 10% down? What could I qualify for? It's easier to purchase these versus like a single family home because of the intent, like the intent's already known that you're probably you're going to rent it out. So it's easier to qualify in that regard. The issue with duplexes and triplexes, that at least from what I see, is there's not a lot of inventory of them because people don't sell them. So it's another thing too, that like, if you like, I would say this, and I'm kind of from an investment standpoint in real estate, if you're really serious about trying to do that and you have like a good amount of either savings or ability to purchase, do a duplex, triplex all day, because they don't just build duplexes or triplexes in random areas. They do it in areas that, this is going to perform really well in this area because there's a ton of renters and no homeowners, or it's in an area that has a lot of just, military or college students. You're going to have a
Could be
plethora
some land restrictions too. The
Right,
only
yeah.
thing that'll fit on that is a good solid, like, town, series of townhomes or duplex, quadplex, or something like that.
Yeah.
So there could be some real estate, some land related issues but it's, God, man, yeah, that's the thing. But you just don't see that. Yeah, exactly what you said. You just don't see them that often.
Yeah,
People
and I
hoard that
think,
stuff.
yeah, I don't really see new duplexes or triplexes going up and building either, at least here on the West Coast. So yeah, I mean, if you guys are really serious about, I don't even like serious, but just curious, switch up that search. Don't look for like a single family home or like your 5-unit, apartment complex yet. Try a duplex, man. I mean that, or like the military guy you were referring to earlier, like that's a really good way to do it because you're moving, it's a primary home and I'll go to the next one, yada, yada. But I've always like 100% like, and especially if you have the ability to move into that multifamily like unit, FHA 3.5% down as your primary residence. That's like the key to doing it. If I was 22 all over again, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, I thought about that for this. You had mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but
yeah,
this, I mean, the inside of this one looks really, really nice. I'm like, God, I could live in half of that and rent the other half, and take advantage of that deal you were talking about.
Yeah, and you just live there for 2 years, refinance in a conventional and move back home, or wherever you want to do it. And then you have a portfolio for the rest of, your life, right? So that's awesome, man. That was a great I love it. The second you brought it up, I was like, oh heck yeah, we're gonna get into this one, man. This is totally
it's interesting because I saw yours, but I usually just go by price, but I don't know what made me, I didn't put together the area. The area was the thing. I didn't put together that was, that's Washington State. That's wait, what is it? What areas was that?
Pullman,
Pullman.
Rolling Hills, Pullman. Yeah.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together on that. So when I said, let's just see what multifamily's going on. And so
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's there's definitely some opportunity out there in college towns and military bases make those opportunities. That's a good target, I guess, to look for, is areas that have that double whammy going on there.
Cool. Credit tip of the day. What did I put here? I forgot. Oh, so this isn't really a credit tip. This is more of a financial tip. And it's not suggesting to put these stocks in it. But my wife and I, we were kind of talking about like future stuff and, how we want to retire at a younger age and all that. And she was wondering about Roth IRAs. Well, 401ks are great, but why not pay the tax already into your investment portfolio and have the ability to invest in whatever you want to do? So the Roth IRA, so I did an individual kind of, you can only contribute up to $7,500 depending on your tax bracket for individual Roth IRAs. So what the mechanism of a Roth IRA is essentially is you put in money after tax dollars, right? So it's not like companies that offer Roth IRAs, you can have it direct deposited, from your bank account or from your paycheck, but it's after tax. So the money's already been taxed versus the 401k is pre-tax, right? So the thing with 401ks is like they're great, but you get taxed at the end when you retire. The thing about Roth IRAs is, let's say you put 10 grand into your Roth IRA and you buy the next Apple and your portfolio goes from 10 grand to $1 million. I'm just using a random amount there. You don't get taxed on the gain because it's in this Roth IRA account. You only get taxed on the withdrawals when you retire at 62.5. Does that make sense?
Dude, it's a tip, but this could be a segment. I mean, you're like, this is some next level stuff right here. I've done that because I usually defer and don't do my taxes until the end of the year. and my only option is a Roth IRA
Right.
at that point.
Right.
So and I think because of my age, I think I've got a little higher than that
Amount.
than that amount. Yeah. So Ferd, I'll be 55 next year, dude.
I don't believe it.
Yes. I don't either, man. My mind tells me different. But,
yeah, exactly, man.
Oh man. But yeah, that's gold, dude. That is gold.
And like we're in our 40s, right? And I don't have a Roth IRA anymore for other reasons and whatnot. But I talked about this with my wife, and I was like, we should probably start one. And she's like, yeah, but we're in our 40s. I'm like, who cares? I mean, like, why not? Like, what's holding you back? The reason I like the Roth IRA is because you're in control of your money. So yeah, Brad, I think we should definitely do like kind of a revamp of like the stocks I suggested and see what happens. But what if I was right? What if I was, say, like for example, here's one I actually called out, I think a while back. The real, which
I knew that was gonna show up this week.
Oh, okay.
I was just telling somebody about. I said my boy hit the nail on the head with one of his picks this a few months ago. So
yeah. I mean, huge risk, right? So this stock, I mean, it's not the percentage returns are pretty good. So I was like buying tons of stock at $1.60. The announcement came out that the CFO just quit. It was actually kind of planned. It was right before earnings, right? But a lot of investors were freaking out because if a CFO quits, it's kind of weird, right? But I took a risk. It was kind of a gamble, and it's now $2.20. So it's 60 cents. You're up 60 cents from the time I suggested it, right? Well, what if you bought 10,000 shares of that stock in a Roth IRA, which you couldn't do in a mutual fund or 401k because you only have a certain menu of whatever to get. And you sell it in your Roth IRA, you bank in those gains or whatever. You're up quite a bit. You're up 80 cents a share. So 8 times 10, I mean, you're up like $8,000. You wouldn't be able to do that in a 401k.
Oh, that's your money.
That's your money.
You already paid the taxes on
it. You already paid the taxes, and you're not withdrawing it because you're going to wait until you're 62 and a half or whatever age it is. I don't know the exact amount. I'm not a financial advisor, so I don't know the exact tax implications, but you're not taxed on the gain. You're only taxed on the withdrawal. So let's say that you retire at 62 and a half and you start pulling from your Roth IRA. Again, I'd recommend you talk to a tax advisor, but you're only gained on the withdrawal. So let's say you take out like $7,000 a month and your income is like $72,000 at the end of the year. You're in that tax bracket of 72,000. So the reason I like it is I think it's for people that, and I think a lot of our audience is in this kind of category. They want control of their financial future. They don't want to have to pick from a bunch of dumb mutual funds that they have no idea how it's allocated, whatever. They want to invest in stuff that they know, like GameStop, like Disney, if they want to, or they want to invest in, whatever it is. Roth IRA is the most efficient way to do it for retirement and communication. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Best tip you've ever shared.
Oh, thanks, man.
In this segment, this is the best tip you've ever shared.
Oh, awesome.
Solid stuff. You could go really deep on this on a segment. I mean, this is like, this is good stuff.
Cool.
This is what folks are tuning in for.
Well, I hope and we're going to start, myself, my wife and I, we're going to start doing a Roth IRA. I'm curious if anyone does do a Roth IRA and they do kind of want, like, I guess more suggestions on how to like allocate it. Like I could do that for the next segment too. Just let us know. And I'm more than happy to put something together for next time. So Brad's more, I'm very curious about your view on the news today and going forward.
So I have two news events, breaking news events. I brought the breaking news back. So markets with the most pent up housing demand. I thought this was kind of interesting. I saw this one. This was from the National Association of Realtors. There's number one, Austin, Texas has the most pent up demand. So since all real estate is local, the National Association of Realtors identified which markets will experience stronger activity in the new year. In identifying these markets, National Association of Realtors considered a variety of indicators that it views to be influential to a metro area's market in this report. So just kind of skimming down through that list, you've got Austin, Texas right up there, which for the longest time I'm not familiar with their market, but for the longest time I had heard they maybe had a little more inventory than, I mean, I know for years it's been one of the most desirable places to move. I think there, and like Portland was at the top for a long time. Those two play for whatever reason. Yeah. I saw that documentary about Portland. Yeah, I saw that documentary about Portland.
I would say Portland, if you ever visit Portland, downtown, I think downtown in any West Coast city sucks. I mean, I'll just say it. All right. I'm pretty moderate when it comes to politics or whatever, but there's something wrong with West Coast cities and downtown.
Well, don't go to Philly. Don't go to Philly when you come out here. Come out to the East Coast next year.
I love Philadelphia.
They've got the Philly zombies, dude. They got zombies walking around. Have you seen that?
I've seen it. We got the same thing in Seattle, man. I mean, it's just as bad. But if you ever come to Portland, this is what I would suggest. Go to Voodoo Donuts. I know it's like a total thing, but the Alphabet District in Portland, it's very walkable, it's very friendly, and it's very Portland. So that's my kind of thing to say there. I'm shocked that Portland was a desirable area not because of the zombies or whatever, but the taxes for land is very expensive there. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. So so Austin's on here. We got Dallas at number 2, which is interesting. Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington area. Dayton, Ohio at number 3. Okay. Durham, North Carolina at number 4. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Houston is on here. Nashville, Tennessee. I could see that. There's they've had gosh, man. Yeah, I remember when they a couple of years ago they did the NFL draft in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Right?
It was the weekend. So Nashville, Tennessee is a huge bachelorette destination.
Oh yeah, I know. My wife went there.
All these brides to be were freaking out because all these guys were there for the draft and just ruining their weekend. So, but that's Nashville, so cool. I like Nashville a lot. That's a great city. Philly's on here. Portland's on here, number 9, and then Washington D.C. area. So, just something to kind of keep an eye on. Again, this is different indicators that National Association of Realtors uses to determine these factors. Let's see. Yeah, as a Tar Heel fan. All right. From Maryland to Chapel Hill for Michael Baker as a Tar Heel fan. But a lot of different indicators to assimilate this list, but just something to kind of keep an eye on. And as we kind of delve into this, we'll see. It'll be just interesting to track. All this stuff we're talking about this week will be interesting to track in a few future episodes, just to kind of get a handle on what's going on. What's going on. So this is another one that we've been talking about this seems like every single week, affordability and what's going on there. So at the national level, housing affordability fell in October compared to the previous month. According to NAR's Housing Affordability Index, the monthly mortgage payment increased by 3.9% compared to prior months, while the median price of single-family homes declined by 0.3%. So it's not really keeping up with that. So housing housing affordability declined in all 4 regions from a year ago. So hopefully with the news that we shared at the beginning and we're going to kind of delve into that a little bit here in a second. But hopefully those things are going to help curb this. But I just I saw this come across my feed and wanted to pass it along for our folks.
Well, looks like we're screwed on the West Coast. But
dude, it's
brutal.
All right, so this was Fed to cut interest rates in 2024. So we got a little glimpse of that. Go ahead and hit the next slide here. Okay. So I touched on some highlights from that article, and just wanted to share this. Now, I want you to chime in as well, coming from I've got my real estate angle, you've got your mortgage angle. Just kind of chime in and we basically did these slides prior to getting that news that we were waiting for. So, they come in and say that they're not going to raise rates and that everything has been so close to the vest with these guys, we're not going to do it now, but we can't promise we won't in the future. And now they're saying we're not going to do it now. And we might have 3 reductions in the coming years. So, So the highlights from that article that I shared with Ferd earlier in the week: the Federal Reserve is poised to cut interest rates 6 times in 2024. Now, this is ING Economics determined it was 6. Now, they've come out and said it's about half that, like 3 is what they
said 3. Yeah.
All right. So now what they might be considering is maybe these cuts roll into 2025. So maybe there's a little long-term potential there. The interest rate cuts would be in response to a slowing U.S. economy. And ING says cuts will start in the second quarter of 2024 and extend well into 2025. So, like I said, we've been fishing for good news for a long time, and it was great to finally, after just doing this for 6 months, we finally got something that we can latch on to and embrace.
Yeah.
So, and just chime in. I mean, chime in, because this was going to be one of those. This isn't like, Brad's top design tips for 2024. This is a joint effort. So anything you want to add as we go through these, please jump in.
So the one thing I didn't have time to really read or go into the details of what the response was from the Fed, but so if the interest rate cuts are due to the economy slowing, like, I wonder what they're basing that on. Are they basing it on like exports, imports, GDP? I mean, like the big things, because like if they are, that means the world economy is probably going to be slowing. And, kind of at the beginning of the podcast, Michael Baker was mentioning the stuff going on in Ukraine. I haven't really heard a lot about, the stuff going on in Israel. But I wonder, what factors are really going to affect the slowing U.S. economy. Because I mean, there's like the biggest bellwether for the U.S. economy is like housing, right? It's like 70% of like the economy essentially, right? So I wonder if it's like, yes, I mean, like if there's no transactions going on with like a home, then that's really gonna hurt, a really big industry in financial services, right? And yours, of course. So but the problem still is the inventory thing. It's not the demand part of it, unless employment goes down. I'm kind of going in like circles here, but like I just wonder what their gauge of like what they're basing the slowness in the economy, would force rate cuts to do. Because like even if you cut rates, I mean, again, we still have a supply issue. So
you're the short you did, and again, I mentioned it earlier, but if you're not subscribed to Sunset to South, please do so and check out those shorts, man. Ferd is putting out he's dropping some gold in those things. you had suggested that it their position might indicate that we're ahead of schedule on some of the indicators that they're using. So, I mean, I don't know how that relates to, and we might be jumping the gun a little bit. This is probably something we need to just kind of monitor and report on. This is
I'm cool
future
with that.
content,
Yeah,
this is future content. But something we monitor and continue to yeah, and he does a good job at it, Michael Baker.
Thanks,
That's
man.
is good stuff. Just kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on with this stuff, because I don't know that we have all the answers. We might, we're asking questions that we may not have the answer to yet, but I'm just super intrigued and glad to finally have something that's a positive for us for a change.
Sure.
So I took some excerpts out of this that I just wanted to point out. An economy that is, and this might have a couple of answers here. An economy that is showing clear signs of decelerating means the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates at, well, they say at least 6 times. That was a not a prediction, but they were anticipating that maybe it would lead to that, and it's probably still remains to be seen. Maybe the announcement today was a conservative announcement, and maybe we get into things and see that it's what they've done to this point has worked, and they could do it more. So according to a Thursday note from ING Economics, moderating inflation, a cooling jobs market, and a deteriorating outlook for consumer spending mean the Fed may need to cut interest rates more than the market expects. So that's their these conditions are maybe where they're being a little more aggressive on their this freaking dude.
I don't even know how to respond.
That's yeah, that's
weird.
dude, I don't know that listen, I have not been to jail for an extended period of time, and I'm not planning on it now. Gator, I'm not going. Yeah, like have you seen The Other Guys? Dude, Will Ferrell. Oh, you got to watch it, man.
Okay, cool.
You got to watch it. It's hilarious.
All right.
Yeah, he's Will Ferrell. He was doing security for some girls at when he was in school. He was doing security when they went on dates, and he's like, "You were a pimp." He was like, no, I was just watching after them, making sure they were like, no, you had a stable of whores.
That's kind of funny.
And Will Ferrell started calling himself Gator when he was so yeah, he was totally a pimp. He had a grill and everything, didn't even realize he was a pimp. So I'm probably out on that one, Wade, but hey, I like the let's keep these ideas churning. Let's keep it going. So what are your thoughts? So moderating inflation, cooling jobs market, and deteriorating outlook for consumer spending. So there's 3 key factors right now that have caused this entity to anticipate reductions and maybe a little more aggressive than was stated today. But what are your thoughts there?
I mean, we've seen job cuts in a lot of sectors. I think, at least from what I've seen, a lot of the job cuts have come from technology, where when everyone went home, the work from home economy adjusted. But now that XYZ amount of those people are now back in the office, that consumption or that need for the work from home adjustments, those people are getting laid off because there's no need for it anymore. They overextended, right? I think the job cuts are going to continue. I mean, honestly, I could I could be let go anytime soon, even with rates going lower, because there's just not enough demand for refinances right now. It still doesn't make sense to refinance, even with as much equity and job and all that, because rates are, you refi at 3.5%. There's no way you're going to get out of that mortgage. So I think that the job cuts are a real thing. I think the economy is still adjusting to the influx of hiring. However, I don't know if that's going to happen in the next 6 months, because there's still job openings too. It's like people don't want to work anymore. It's kind of a weird thing. I think people are getting used to the inflation. I think that people have adjusted well. I mean, I know just people, just pillow talk, or not pillow talk, water cooler talk of people being like, I don't go to McDonald's anymore because it's too expensive, or I don't eat as much, or I'm going to start taking that diet pill because I can't afford to be eating pizzas every weekend, or just adjustments there, right? The initial shock was kind of different. I can't speak for families of like 4 to 5 people, because it's hard to adjust that way. But I definitely think, yeah, I don't know why I said pillow talk. Wait, I apologize. But yeah, I just think that the job market's going to cool. But as of right now, I mean, UPS drivers are making 6 figures. It's just weird stuff like that you hear about. I think that there's another important stat I think people need to also, and when it comes to inflation, wage inflation is slowing. So I think that was a big deal for inflation in general, especially with corporate America. People are demanding $20 an hour, $22 an hour for, and now respect to these jobs, but for like menial jobs, right? And there is demand for it. Well, I think those companies are starting to adjust and basically saying like, fuck you, I'm not going to pay you $22 to push a cart from A to B, because we have self-service, this or that, right? So technology is going
Well,
to,
yeah, mess around and wait until robots take the jobs away or
yeah.
whatever. When they're toying with that stuff now. There's certain.
I was at the grocery store today at like 3:00, which is a pretty busy time, right? Especially people work from home. There was 2 cashiers, and more people were going to the self-checkout line because I think socially we're just like, we don't want to interact with people anymore. All the people that were going to the checkers, they were older people that don't want to deal with technology. And I mean, today was the first time I went out of the house since Monday. So that's 2 days, right? So I just think that's just, those jobs that they're not, those people that are getting those $22 an hour jobs for like very menial tasks, they're not getting full 40 hours a week. And I think that's okay, because those people, that's not a $22 hour job. That's like, I don't know. I'll refrain from that. Whatever. Those people need to find expertises in other fields. They don't need to get paid that much for that. And yeah, Michael Baker's exactly right. Automation. And what we were talking about in stocks earlier today, AI is coming, man. You can't deny it. NFTs are coming. All that stuff that's going to take over those jobs and make those jobs obsolete. And
Dude, they are automating so many warehouse jobs right now, and people are just oblivious to it. I mean, watch out. I mean, be careful. If the free money is gone, find something you can do and find a trade that is necessary, and jump on it, get in there, find something, because those jobs are they're going away. They're looking for AI to handle that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised, if Amazon's already trying to get drones to deliver packages and stuff.
It's a matter of time, man, really. FAA, it's probably like 5 years away. I mean, I think, just with law and all that stuff. But shoot, man, in Modern Warfare, they got drones all the time. So I mean, like, it's everything is trying to be automated, and it makes sense for. And here's the other thing: the corporations have money to pay for that automation. They have the R&D research. They're already researching it because they don't want to pay someone $22 an hour, to push a cart, or something like that. So it's going to be, it'll be employment. So the employment thing, I think it's going to take some time really to like have jobs be lost because there's still demand. But I think, like you said, the free money is like over, it's gone. So anyway, that's my take on it.
So there's plenty of stuff here for us to track, and kind of keep up with in the coming months, just to, let's see what's happening here. So this is a quote from one of the James Nitty, ING's chief international economist. We have modest growth and cooling inflation and a cooling labor market, exactly what the Feds want to see, or what the Fed wants to see. This should confirm no need for any further Fed policy tightening, but the outlook is looking less and less favorable. So, just an excerpt from that article that I wanted to share that kind of reinforces that, kind of what they're seeing, and things are moving in the right direction, and that silver lining we've been looking for.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, and kudos to the Fed. Everyone was predicting it, I think wanting like a crash for whatever reason. And I mean, there's still time, right? That could still happen. But what he's done so far, that's why he gets paid the big bucks, So,
yeah. Well, they could have been wanting one. Had they been watching us, Ferd, they would have known there wasn't one coming. So
that's right. That's right.
We gave you all the signs that there wasn't a crash imminent. So
yeah.
So another excerpt here. Knightley says he expects the Fed will start cutting interest rates in the second quarter of next year, delivering as many as 6 25 basis point rate cuts, totaling 150 basis points. That might be aggressive. I mean, they're saying 3. The Fed has been a little conservative in their willingness to say what's coming next. So maybe that, I don't know. We'll see how it shakes out. But anything, really anything is positive. He also says he expects the interest rate cuts, and this I thought was really interesting. He also says he expects the interest rate cuts to extend into 2025 with at least 4 25 basis point interest rate cuts. Meanwhile, the future market suggests the Fed will cut rates by 125 basis points next year.
Wow, that's a lot. That's good. I hope that happens. So to add on to that, like, if that's true and you're worried about stock market and still want a guaranteed return on your whatever money's in the bank, you could still make a pretty nice return on a 10-year bond or a 2-year bond today and hold it for, either to maturity or next, for the full year. Because if the Fed cuts rates by 125 basis points, think of it as you're up 125 points on that bond as far as interest rate is concerned. So, and that bond is worth more if this holds true, because it's going to shift demand into bonds. It's going to shift money into bonds.
We might need a Ferd dig deep on that one.
Okay, cool.
You have to dig deep on the bond stuff and
bond market stuff.
Yeah. Because if you can do it before the rates start cutting, before they start cutting rates, and it benefits you at some point, then maybe that's something we need to kind of,
explain,
shoehorn in there before the end of the year so we can get out in front of it.
Yeah, sure, definitely. It's fixed income has been suffering for the past year and a half because of the rate cycle. I'd be curious to see what numbers are in the beginning of 2024 when it comes to fixed income going into 2024, because it's been a lagging. That and commercial real estate have been really lagging as far as fixed income is concerned. So maybe that makes you kind of think. Cool, good stuff. Oh God, why does it keep doing that? Hold on, sorry. All right, there we go.
All right, so the bottom line. If this analysis proves true, this would mark a huge win for both home buyers and sellers. You know, it's going to provide people an opportunity to get off the fence if they own a home and are looking to sell. This,
Mhm.
you know, it might be a good opportunity to crunch the numbers and see if that works for you. We have been searching for a silver lining, and this would be just what the doctor ordered. What's your take on this? I mean, it's good news. I mean, it's whether it's 3 or 6, I'll take whatever I can get at this point, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good news. I still think stocks are a little ahead of themselves at 4,700 in the S&P. I would have rather I would have liked to see a drop to like 4,100. Well, we had a drop to 4,175. I would have liked to see a drop to like 4,050 and then end the year at 4,500. Just because like that's priced to perfection at this point right now. I honestly probably wouldn't get into a lot of stocks near 52-week highs just because if the Fed's going to drop rates because of a slowing economy, then that's not going to bode well for your investments anyway. With that said, I'm not trying to be too negative. I guess I'm just trying to be cautious when it comes to investing. I think with that said, everyone always tries to be like ahead of the game, right? Like, my other other shows, like even the comic book show, everyone wants to get, everyone wants to be. I want to find that B character that's going to show up in a movie in 2025, and that's fun and great and all that. But when it comes to your money, you don't have to be a year ahead of the game. You don't have to catch the wave. You can ride that wave and then get off when the wave is gone, right? So like when it comes to like investing for me, I've always approached stuff like Apple does with technology. Like if you notice, Apple wasn't the first company to come out with a smartphone. They watched Microsoft fail. They watched Sanyo fail. They watched all these other companies fail. And then they said, I like this and this and that, but let's put our Apple touch on that and then introduce something. They definitely weren't the first company to come out with a tablet, I think. They waited for, other companies to fail and then they adopted what I mean by that is I don't really seek out to be first to market with stuff. I always like to say, okay, this is an established company when it comes to investing. They obviously have a wave going. I want to be the third or fourth guy on that wave. I don't want to be the 10th or 15th, but I want to be kind of along the ride, right?
Yeah, I get that. You don't have to be first. You have to be. You want to rock with best, not first.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to like prepping yourself to, I talked about Roth IRAs and 401ks and all that. It's not too late. It's never too late to buy an investment property. It's never too late to be thinking about opening an account. But if you never do it and you're waiting for that next dip, or like if you're on the fence about buying a home and you're waiting for the next dip in home prices, guess what? The bad news out of the good news today is that there's going to be a flood of people thinking end of the year, January, I'm going to do my taxes. I'm going to call Ferd or I'm going to call Brad and say, I want to get back in the mortgage market. There's going to be a flood of people coming in. I already see it.
You weren't. My response is going to be, you weren't the only person thinking that. I'm going to wait. The whole idea, and that's the thing. Because it almost makes us feel like we have to deliver bad news. But had you asked me before you decided to wait until interest rates go down, I could have told you, hey, have you considered that there may be other people doing the same thing?
Yeah.
So we might be getting into a market. Okay, so the interest rate is, low 6s now, but you've got to pay 10,000 over to get the house you want.
Yeah.
So did you win? It's like, and most of those people don't have $10,000 sitting around,
Yeah.
So it's like, use us as a resource. We say it. We really mean it. You and I both really mean it. Use us as a resource when you have those kind of questions. You don't have to make a monumental decision like that on your own. ask us. We're happy to give you, maybe a different perspective to consider.
Yeah. And I think also, I think only one person from our shows, and which is fine, has actually asked me like, actual questions about like, well, I want to think about buying a house in 4 months. And yeah, I mean, we had a really good conversation. I kind of went the pros and cons and like kind of wanted to see what they were feeling as far as like hesitancy. And I'm never going to tell someone like, if you don't feel comfortable with like that payment, then don't do it, because ultimately you're making the mortgage payment, not me. But if you're like, I'm cool with that, I'm going to tell you, okay, I'm not at the same time, I'm not going to say, okay, go out and buy a house like now because rates are going to go down and yada, yada. I'm always going to tell you, if you feel comfortable with like that, or if you're really eager because, you anticipate, like you've been more of an expert in this area of a county or like, housing,
Or
do it.
maybe their rent's getting ready to go up, and it just makes way more sense now, because I mean it literally happened to me over the summer. I had a client who we were looking, and he said, "Yeah, I just decided to buy because my rent was going up $200 a month." And they got a line of people waiting to take it at that price, that new price.
Yeah.
So if you can't push back, you got no choice.
Yeah.
You either decide to, I'm gonna, bite the bullet and pay what they're asking, or I'm gonna start paying myself.
Yeah.
And start gaining equity. And as if you've been watching for a while, we've kind of established that 3 to 5% annually is about what you can expect in appreciation. So, but you're putting that in your pocket. You're not paying rent's 100%. It always has been, and it always will be.
And the other thing too is like, in closing, I would say like, so there was a little bit of a dip, right, in home prices or the value of homes. I mean, we're now, so like the way that appraisals work is you, just because a house sold for $1 million 5 days ago, it doesn't go into that database until 30 days later. Am I correct? Right? When it comes to appraisal. I don't know if you know that.
That might be out of my, that I'm not exactly sure when
the data streams through, right?
Yeah.
So it takes some time to season it.
Now they may, on your end, it might take that long. On my end, we would probably use it when it closes and we have that price established. We could use that as comps. And so an appraiser may use that as comps sooner than that. They'll see the sale. They'll see the sale sooner than that.
And the only reason I know that is because I've had like to go back to an appraiser and they've said, well, that listing has not come through my database and won't for another 3 weeks. So what do you want to do? And then we've kind of had to adjust, and I had that conversation with the realtor, and I can't enforce anything. I could just show off the news, and so, whatever. But so what was I trying to say? Oh, I forgot what I was trying to say. So anyway, so even with like the dip this past year in the value of homes, like that dip is, I feel I can definitively say this, like I put money on this, like that dip for now, for the next like 3 months, it's over. Like we're back to a possible incline in prices.
I think we're up on for 2023 overall. I think we're up. I think there's some seasonality that's going on, but I think we're on the low end of that 3 to 5% spectrum that we talked about. I think we're closer to 3, but there's still appreciation. It's just not that, it's not on the high end of that.
And that's good, right? You don't want 5 to 10%, increases. And when you buy a house, you don't think of it like, oh, I'm down, 10 grand, I'm in here for 2 months. Like you're thinking of it like a 3 to 5 year deal,
Dude, that the thing that frustrated me the most, and one of the reasons why I was so amped about doing this podcast, is seeing reports from, what we have traditionally considered mainstream media that is reliable. This one's for you.
I love it.
Reliable
That's a
media.
sick picture, man.
That's dope.
That's sick.
That's my background on my MacBook Air.
Oh, it better be.
So yeah, when I was thinking about a quote, this one, if you don't know, you need to know. So if you want the ultimate, you've got to be willing to pay the ultimate price.
I love it, man. That's sick, dude. That's great.
But the thing that drove me crazy was seeing mainstream media and people who have established themselves as credible sources come out and say 90%, you know, the stat, 90% of homeowners who bought in the last year are underwater. Like, no kidding.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, there's never been a year that hasn't been the case. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that's just like, and stuff like that, that fear mongering and that stuff. That's what we've been trying to shake up here is, you know, like get out in front of that stuff and say like, look, that's a stupid article. That was a waste of ink.
Yeah.
To publish something like that and say that, because you're not guaranteed a massive return in a year. That's not, nobody does that.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. I just thought of something that I wanted to like mention, that I read a social economic thing right now. People, because of the higher interest rates, are putting off divorces. And it's because like either one, the person wants to be cashed out because there's equity in the home, and they're like, I want 40 grand. I want you to assume this loan. Well, the loan's not assumable, so you have to go off of current market rates. Well, we bought this house at 3.5%. Like, I can't afford double the payment. So when I have that, I've had this happen to me 3 times with people that are looking to get a divorce, and they want to know what their options are. And one gentleman, actually 2 out of the 3, they said, well, what if I just weren't to make payments on the house and just was delinquent? I go, well, forgive me for saying this, but that'd be really unfortunate for you to do, because you have equity in the home. You have $150,000 in equity in the home. So why would you do that? Well, because I don't want the house, but so I don't want to make mortgage payments on it. I'm like, well, then sell it. And they're like, but it's worth money. I'm like, yeah, but you just told me. Like, what if you did?
You're gonna give it away, but
yeah, you're just gonna give it away, not out of what principle or something. So, and I think he was trying to like be like, well, I'm not gonna make payments on the loan. All right, cool. We'll take back the house and sell it for 150 grand. But we're not in the business of doing that. We don't want that to happen. But that's essentially what would happen. My point is that there's the value of homes. People are sitting on a ton of equity still from 2 or 3 years ago, which is almost unheard of, right? And I think that goes back into a problem that we're still seeing today with housing supply constraints. Supplies, and so because that person can't refinance out into a higher rate because their rate's so low and they have all this equity, they're just like, okay, well, it'd be dumb for me to sell this house because I can't afford, the cost of living. So they just keep it and they don't get divorced, which I think is just so, I mean, it's really unfortunate. The good part about that is you can sell the house and get money and like walk away from it versus like, oh, I ruined my credit because my house is underwater. It was just a different take. I just thought of like, man, that it sucks to get divorced. It sucks to have a higher mortgage payment, but at least you get to walk away with some money, after the marriage. I don't know. Some that I kind of thought, was weird.
Just sell the thing. I mean, that makes, well, thank God he asked you, asked your opinion about that, because it's like, that seems absurd to me to even consider that. But
it was really hard to like not say like, what the fuck are you doing, without saying what the fuck you doing. But I was basically like, well, you could have the bank make 150,000 in the house, or you and your ex-wife could walk away with 75,000 minus like, real estate fees and all that. But And I'm saying, and I told him, I was like, because the market is still very strong for housing. He's like, oh, I guess I didn't think of that. Duh. Like, you know what I mean? So I think just going into 2024,
he's probably got a room where he's mapped out this whole thing and got like yarn and like connecting the dots
I
to all this
know.
stuff. And dude,
Yeah.
the obvious choice is just sell it and cash out and get some money.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
move on with your life.
It's a, I was being really patient with him too, because I was like, hey man, like I know how it is. I've gone through divorce, and it was like, it wasn't messy like it sounds like yours is, but like we didn't walk away with anything from it. Like, in fact, I walked away with more obligations than she did. So in your case, like, you have no debt, you only have this house, you have your 401k, she has her 401k. Just sell the damn thing, because the option that you want to do, you can't do it. There's no legal way to do it. Or not legal, I shouldn't say. There's no investor way to do it. So that's the good news for people if you do have a home. And I think the good thing also for potential homeowners is rates are lower. So it does give you a sense of like happiness, I guess, in the regard to, oh, my mortgage isn't going to be as high. However,
yeah, less of a hit if you have to move. You know, whether it's work or whether it's life-changing events like you're talking about there, it's less of a hit. You're also buying, take that 75,000 and buy a 1,200 square foot house. You know, don't rent. Buy, you can get something reasonable for your current situation. And hey, maybe it's something that you can, hey, maybe you just sold that house and started your real estate portfolio, because the thing you're living in after, in your new phase of life, is going to be your first rental.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think big and ask questions, folks. I mean, that's the thing. Like, ask us. I'm here. Ferd's here. Ask us questions and find out, like, what, hey, what are my options? Is there something I'm not seeing? Because you certainly provided him value with the information you shared with him. I mean, that was, I don't know, to us it seems like a no-brainer that's the answer, but
and just like you wipe yourself clean of like the debt. I mean, I think to me that was the most important thing, like going through divorce, is like you don't want any ties to like the old life that you had. So from like a social standpoint, or just like your psychological, like just sell the damn thing. That way there's no question. Oh, I sold it. Like, I don't owe anything to that house, and neither does she, or I have no more ties to that person. Because that's what you have to do to essentially a divorce, just come clean, right? So that was just kind of my thing. But those are my
closing. Did you like the quote?
I loved the quote. I love the picture. I love everything of it, man.
I'll send you. You can make this your background, your wallpaper too. So
I might have to. If you ever go to LA, Brad, and you have the opportunity to like do the Point Break trip,
that's a thing.
It's a tour you can go. I don't know if they have it anymore, but my big thing was key lime pie. Like, whenever I go out of Seattle or anywhere, I always try to get a key lime pie. Manhattan Beach, so the beach where in the kind of the beginning of the movie where the aquarium is, or where he buys the surfboard, that's an aquarium now. It's not a surf shop anymore. It's prime real estate anyway.
Surfing's the source, man.
What's that?
It's not too old to get to do it. Surfing's the source.
Yeah, surfing's the source. Change your life. Yeah. So
he's like, I'm only 25.
Yeah, he's only 25.
That's what I'm saying. You're not too old.
Yeah. I was like, huh? So they're walking in Manhattan Beach, where Leonardo DiCaprio has a house out there.
Okay.
It's I mean, LA's huge, right? And this beach is ridiculous. There's, I gotta find it, but there's this tiny little like cafe, like bar. That's how Manhattan Beach is. It's a bunch of little restaurants that are connected together. Best key lime pie I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
They take it out. It's like a circle, and then they take a flame, like a not a flamethrower, but like a flame, and they burn
like
the end. So
like creme brulee torch or something, and like
yeah. $17 for a slice, but damn, it was delicious. It was the best I've ever had in my life.
You'll never forget that. They used to do I saw that it was in Chicago. They used to do Point Break Live, where people will act out the movie out, like they're
Dude.
pulled out of the audience to act out the movie. Now, do you think you could?
Heck yeah, but I'm going.
I'd feel pretty confident about being able to do that. So, yeah, jeez, man. I mean, once a month, dude, I'm watching that freaking movie at least. I'm watching.
Oh, dude. If my concept of what I'm gonna do with my with the basement downstairs, I want to have a flat TV for like my YouTube stuff, and then for like just like ongoing movies, and this is like one of them. This, The Godfather, what's the other movie? Good Will Hunting. I know it's random, and Stand By Me. Those are the 4 I'd put and like a freaking just round table all day. But yeah, good stuff, man.
Man, it's that was cool. Yeah, there you go. Anthony Kiedis and Flea are the tour guides. That's
I wish, man. Damn, that'd be awesome. Anyway.
with Anthony Kiedis being one of the bad guys in Point Break.
I know, he looks so small too. Like, I remember when I was watching that as a kid, like I was like, hey, he's that small? Like, I didn't realize how small he was, but I mean, compared to those guys, he's tiny. So
he's a lot smaller than Warchild was, for sure.
Yeah, Warchild or Lupton Pittman.
Dude, it is nuts that we have that in common.
I know. Out of all the
people
things,
are watching it, they're like, "What are these nut balls doing?"
I know.
Quoting this stuff, but yeah, we got to talking and realized that Point Break was our favorite movie. So that's
100%, man.
Just one of those endearing qualities you have to put up with us.
I know.
Every other week. So
bunch of money nerds over here and stuff.
There you go. You go. Well, that was fun, man. I appreciate.
It's great.
They don't know the greatness of Johnny Utah, Michael Baker. You are right.
They don't, man. You gotta watch it.
That was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate your insight and your dedication to bringing it every other week. And so we probably, like you said, we probably got one more in us before 2024 rolls around. So we'll I think we need to check. Yeah, we'll just have to check the dates and see how all that stuff shakes out, whether it's 2 weeks is we'll check. But in the next couple of weeks, we'll be back hanging with you guys, and really appreciate the questions and the interaction. We had a couple of segments that went long because you guys had questions about stuff. So
sorry. And apologies. Like, I meant to kind of advertise this a little better. But I think we had a good turnout. The questions were fantastic today. Even if they were quote unquote uncomfortable questions or just different ones, it definitely spurred my kind of thought process on the announcements today, and didn't even think of that year and a half ahead, which is great.
Different. Yeah, when you guys ask questions, it's different. We may not have thought of your angle. So thanks, Wade. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, Wade.
Yeah, we may not have thought about that. So don't ever think a question is dumb or negative or anything, man. We appreciate that stuff. We would prefer to, I'm not mad if we go off topic when you guys have questions about stuff, because that gives us some direction as far as what you want.
You guys need help with.
Yeah. And that's what we're here for ultimately. So
hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I mean, I know I did. I know, Brad, I learned a lot of, the news was perfect for today's show. So great. I think it helped out everybody. I will say for sure, though, that the biggest thing, when it comes to real estate right now, it's the inventory. And then, hopefully I think I'll talk about it the next podcast, but there is a proposal in Congress. So, that something may open up inventory. It's not for sure yet, so I didn't want to really talk about it today because we had some more like macroeconomic stuff to talk about. But I'll touch on it next week, and it'll kind of lead into what Brad talks about too. We'll see you guys next time. I'll definitely advertise it out on the Discord and on Instagram. Hit that like button. Tell tell as many younger or older people to like, it doesn't matter how old or young you are. I think there's something that everyone could take from this show. And hopefully we help you out with your financial goals and all that good stuff. And yeah, everyone take care and stay warm. It's freezing here in Seattle. So hope you guys all stay.
What is freezing?
Actually, today it's not freezing. It's like 45 degrees today.
All
So
right.
we're okay. A little sprinkle of rain today. So we're okay. We're good.
Good deal. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, Michael Baker, keep them coming, brother. We appreciate you. Thanks, man.
Oh, thanks, Michael. I'll be on the lookout for it tomorrow, man. Appreciate you, dog.
Nice.
Yeah.